right. And we're back, and it's the 3M, all done with majors. It feels weird just because of last year we had the Masters bridging us in November, and it kind of spread them out. But when you have a normal season, all the majors are jam packed in the summer. And now it's going to be like 8 months, 7 or 8 months, like April. We don't have a major till April. That is a long ways away. So now you get to the end game season where there's a few tournaments before the FedEx, and then some real. And I guess the Olympics. Dan does bring up the Olympics. We just mentioned we're talking off air about how we're not betting Olympic tennis. I probably won't bet Olympic golf either. Maybe a little bit on the Koreans just because I'll feel silly if they win and get out of their army service. But that would be about the only thing. So the 3M this week. Did you dig in a little to Minneapolis? Actually, Blaine. It's up in a suburb.
I did. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of course data on this because the PGA has only played at this course just twice in 2020 and 2019. And then you have Michael Thompson is the player who is defending his 2020 title. That was his first tour win in 7 years. Before that tournament, he actually had one top 10 finish during the entire 2019 and 2020 season, and he missed the cut in 7 of 11 events prior before taking his win. So I think that right off the bat can tell you that this course, which is at the TPC Twin Cities, it is a par 71 and 7,400 yards, is probably any 119 under. So it's kind of going to be an easy birdie fest of a course. Even if a player is kind of struggling coming into this with some form, I think there's plenty of opportunity here to see another surprise win out of the gate for this one.
Yeah, high variance, and like you said, it's going to be a score fest. I just hold out from the fairway to start with an eagle. Like this is what you're
There
going to
you
see.
go.
Like the winner is going to be like 20, I mean even more. The old record was 60. When it was a
Wow.
slightly shorter course. This was a seniors event. The senior tour played here for many many years. The old record was 60. It was an easy course then for the seniors. They lengthened it.
For the seniors.
Yeah. Tom Lehman and I believe it was Tom Lehman and Tim Herron worked on this after they decided they were going to make it a full blown tour event. They lengthened it by like 350 yards. It's still an easy course. As you can see, though, as I'm hitting here, there's water. There's water on like 12 holes. I mean, it's the land of lakes. I got my Minnesota hat on here. It's even got the lakes of Minneapolis on it. So there will be a lot of
Hmm.
chances for, a major screw up. But with all these birdie opportunities, you'll have some good opportunities to get those strokes back if you end up in one of these ponds. But yeah, it's going to be scoreable. Accuracy is important, but mostly because you got to keep up with everybody. Pars or bogeys here. You got to keep up with the crowd. You can't be,
Hmm.
losing, parring on one of the easier holes. You're not going to be able to keep up with the crowd here as they are going to move towards the 20
Exactly.
under mark.
Exactly.
So, who wins? Who wins, Pam?
Oh, I was so close last week by taking Louis Oosthuizen. He had, what was he? He was the 54-hole leader, and then he just completely chokes up on round four. I'm heartbroken. Happy that you took Colin Morikawa. As long as somebody from the pod took that outright, that is good. But this week I'm going to go with Patrick Reed at plus 1800. I don't necessarily love any of the guys who are at the top this week, but I think if you're looking at people who can birdie, Reed has to be up there as for consideration. And he did miss the cut at the Open. The last few times that he has missed the cut, he took first at the Farmers Insurance after he missed the cut. He took sixth at the Wells Fargo Championship after he missed the cut. And so now he missed the cut now. So he took fifth at the Memorial after he missed the cut. So then that's three back to back to back tournaments where he followed up in a big bounce back way. Maybe this is the one since it's a fairly simple course.
Yeah, and he's a grinder who can beat hard courses, but he can score here too. He's got the tools. Like you said, I don't like a lot of the short numbers here. I don't like a lot of these guys at the top. I don't know if there's any motivation. Maybe a little bit of a bump to guys who
Hmm.
did miss the cut. It's a long way from
Right.
Sandwich to Minneapolis. Like if you played all the
Correct.
way into Sunday, or if you could fly back a little early, like Patrick Reed, he just didn't have a good Thursday, and then his Friday morning was just that didn't help anything out. The early tee time, he looked
Hmm.
bad right off the bat. I just don't think he was ever in it. So, I'm using him in a few. I actually have him in a couple matchups already. I like him here as well. I went further down the board just because, like I said, I really struggled to take any of these top ones, and you took Reed. So I'm like, well, I'm not going to double up on him. Grillo, I guess. Apparently, we do say the L's, even though it's a South American name. Really want to make him soft, but Emiliano Grillo, 35-1. He's a guy I've backed a little bit here and there. Um, it's tough at a course like this to really find some people. Like, what do you go with? Do you gotta go with the guys who can putt well, the guys who don't
Right.
putt well, because it might not, it just might not matter if they putt were the hoot at all at this course. So Grillo has some game that I think will play well here. He is kind of one of the guys he's a horseshit putter. Like, he's just bad. And places like, but Bentgrass is his best surface. He did come off a 12th place at Royal St. George's, and he did have three top tens earlier in the spring, so he can play well.
Mm-hmm.
He has one of the best approach games in the field out of anybody here, and if he can putt even marginally well, he'll be in this come Sunday. And like you said, it's going to be a high variance weekend. What was I can't even remember the guy's name who won. Thompson, Michael Thompson.
Michael Thompson,
Yeah, somebody like that
19 under.
could certainly win. So, Grill winning this wouldn't surprise me at all. Like, long shots are going to be kind of the theme this week, which leads us to long
Mm-hmm.
shots. You took Hammer
Hank
Hank.
Lebiota. I'm going to take him for a top 10 at plus 450. I think he could actually maybe come out with a win here, but I'm going to be a little safe and do a top 10 at plus 450. He is coming into this with some really great form. I don't need you to be a long hitter off the tee, and that's not him, which is why you see him being pretty neutral off the tee. But he is good with his iron shot, so his ball striking overall is there. And more importantly, he is good with his around the green, so his little chip shots and his putting. He has gained strokes putting in 6 straight tournaments, and all because of that, he has pretty much improved. He took 31st, 5th, and 4th and 8th in his last 4 tournaments at the Palmetto, the Travelers, the Rocket, and last week's John Deere. So I think he has an opportunity here to kind of spark up can he do a 4th top 10? I think so.
Yeah, he's actually. I give out on brown bag bets on Mondays. I always give out early outright some guys right off the bat because I feel like sometimes, especially if I'm right about things, I'm going to get better numbers on Mondays. And I did bet.
Right.
I bet Hank is one of my outrights this week. He's a guy I like quite a bit.
Nice.
He's caught a little shit for off the tee numbers, but if he can stay accurate, which I think he can, I'm not sure it's going to matter all that much with the rest of his game. So yeah, he's a guy I like.
Mm-hmm.
Another guy I actually bet outright, and this was always going to be a top 20 as well for me, is Ches Reavie, because he was a massive
Okay.
number. Like, I think, and he's lower now, but there was some 100-to-1s out there on him. So, not a big,
Interesting.
not a big, I'm not feeling like that outright has a high probability of winning. I just thought that number was a little off market. And I did take him top
Mm-hmm.
20 here at plus 280. He had a rough stretch. He missed 6 straight cuts between the players in the PGA, but he has played a ton better of late, and
Mm-hmm.
he's been getting back to like we said, Bentgrass season. You get back to Bentgrass season, he's going to play a little better. He actually won the Travelers a couple of years ago. Like, he can play well in these crappy northern courses, if we're going to just make fun of all these courses in one. And you know uh, his tee to green's been very, very good for the last 6 weeks, and it's just kind of a juicy
Mm-hmm.
number for a guy that, like I said, I already bet him outright. I think he's going to compete, so getting him at a top 20 number like this feels good too. Oh, I just absolutely scooted right past the pin. Maybe this is a par
That's an
five. Maybe
interesting one.
maybe I just drove the green in two. Then I don't feel so bad about this lie.
Hence the
Shez.
minus 20 numbers for this tournament.
Yeah, I did bet some top 20s already. I love top 20s. Did great 2 weeks ago. Last week, not so much, but we'll get back to it. So, um, head to heads. We do have
If
some
you're like me, then you didn't love the head-to-heads this week. This was,
No.
I think, an ugly week for taking some of the marquee head-to-heads, but I'm going to go with Dustin Johnson minus 130 over Tony Finau, and I don't feel strong about that. Both of them had full 4 days at the Open. Dustin Johnson took 8th, Tony Finau took 15th, but I think if you're just looking at the complete game, Dustin Johnson, he is kind of playing below his standards, but I still think that he has more of a complete game off the tee with his irons around the green and putting than compared to Tony Finau, who has lost strokes in every single category in his last few events. So I think which he did bounce back last week, taking 15th at the Open, but they're both going to be kind of jet lagged. Maybe I think this also is the tournament last year in 2020 where Dustin Johnson he ended up playing the first round and then he withdrew. He shot like an 80 and then he withdrew. So maybe he wants some redemption from that.
Yeah, either he forgot to bring his boat up or he just wanted no part of being up. And I forget. I think it might have been like one of those points where it gets kind of humid up here. Like Minnesota's kind of miserable
Yeah.
when it's humid. I agree with. It's funny. I'm gonna bet against DJ in my matchup, but I still agree with yours because, and I'll get to Finau later. And mine is just a number based thing. Reed over Dustin Johnson at plus 130,
Mm-hmm.
I found. Anything plus number I'm fine with here. Reed again. He struggled at the Open. You like Reed,
Right.
obviously. You took him there. So
Mm-hmm.
Reed did struggle at the Open. There's some, maybe some issues there with his game right now. Links course and what we're seeing here in Minneapolis are going to be very different, although I did weight things kind of similarly. Again, this is probably just a price thing for me. Like getting plus 130 here when I make these golfers so incredibly close as far as where I project them, like their average finish. Like it's really close. So getting anything at plus number feels like a win here, and Reed plus 130 feels good. And yeah,
Right.
it's I'm getting a better putter. Like looking at a few different sample sizes for the putting too. Reed has been putting better, so if that sets him apart a little too, I'll take that. But otherwise, yeah, price play, Reed over DJ. Maybe Reed just wins, and then it's like
Maybe he just wins.
I had Usti and Spieth in some matchups. It's like, oh, it'd be cool if they won. I had outrights on them, but as well, it's like, oh man, like the fact that they're like too clear of everybody, just like not sweating these matchups at all. The best, it does suck having a guy win when you have him in a matchup and you didn't take him outright. I've had that numerous
which you ha-
times.
which happens to you quite often.
Yeah, but not that week. Usti, I did have Usti on there. So down the board, more Hank.
This is like a very Hank Lebiota heavy card. I'm taking him as an underdog, plus 1.5 strokes against your boy Emiliano Grillo. As I just learned, is not
Yeah.
Griot, but it's minus 125. I think that's a very fair price. I think both players are good, but Grillo has missed the cut in 3 of his last 4 events on bent grass surfaces. And I'm looking at Hank Lubiota, who, like I said, he's kind of been on a tear all around, minus the off the tee. So I think I like him in an underdog to at least keep pace here. If I like him in the top 10, top 20, then I'm definitely going to like him to compete against anybody for a head to head.
Yeah, I like that. And it's like a double edged sword because if you're right, you get a bunch, but if you're wrong, like I've had this where it's
You
like,
miss a
oh,
bunch.
yeah, I have this guy in like 3 matchups and a daily matchup, and all of a sudden he's playing
Mm,
very poorly. Oh, I got dangerously close to some water there. I gotta watch what I'm doing here. I'm in the fringe. Lebiota over Grillo. And maybe people are just messing with me. Maybe it is a soft L. It feels right, the soft L. I took Rogers. I've been talking about Rogers a
okay.
lot this week. Different Rogers. This guy doesn't play for any NFL team, but Rogers over JT the Postman. JT, and this really doesn't have anything to do with this, but it certainly can't help. Like, your head can't be right after last week at Barbasol. He had a
Hmm.
3 shot lead with 4 to go. Basically, everybody who's near him was already in the clubhouse because he was the round 3 leader. He was the last group out. And he doubled 16, bogeyed
Oh,
17. He had like a
wow.
25-foot birdie putt to win on 18, missed it, lost in a 5-hole playoff to Seamus Power. Like that can't help your
Wow.
psyche. Which you just you're a pro athlete, move on, get on with it, play the next round. But that can't help.
Hmm.
And he's a guy I've faded quite a bit, so I'm fine betting against JT, even though he did play very well. Obviously, he shot like 22 under last
Hmm.
week. But right now, Rogers is well ranked above him. He's kind of a chic pick. As far as some of the people I talk to that do DFS, they're worried about some ownership on him if he's going to be too high. Sometimes that's just the price, though.
Interesting.
Sometimes if there's a guy that's a little mispriced in the DFS market, it doesn't automatically mean he's bad in the betting markets as well. But
Right.
he putted his ass off. And it's another guy that played really well at Barbasol. He top fived at the Barbasol, and really, I don't do big course history looks, but he has played well here in the past, which is to say, he played here one time last year and he
One
made the
time.
cut. Yeah, he
We
did
only
play
have
well.
2 years of history here.
Yeah, not a lot of history at this one, but he did play well. Oh man, I messed up on. That's not good. So Rogers over Poston, -112. And yeah, hopefully the guy just melts because his brain is broken from last week. I could get down with that. Make and miss the cut. I didn't even come close last week. I had Fleetwood.
No.
I don't think that was even near. Like he played well.
He finished in the top 15, I think.
Yeah, it wasn't great.
And then I had the parlay, and it was with Morikawa. Who did I
Oh,
have? It was
Reed.
It was
Reed ruined
Morikawa.
it.
Reed ruined it. It was
Yeah.
3 players. 2 of them ended up, of course, Morikawa ended up winning, and then it was who was it? Was it Hovland who ended up doing? He made the cut, and then it was Reed who ended up screwing it over.
Yeah.
And it was plus 100, so it's not like you lost a lot of money on that, but it was still. But for this week, I'm going to go with Keegan Bradley to miss the cut. It was very difficult to find players to make the cut. A lot of those were really heavily juiced at like -250 or higher. And though this is a tournament where you could probably lay one of those comfortably, I would rather try to go for plus money. And I'm going to go with Bradley at plus 225 because he has missed the cut in 3 of his last 4 tournaments. But then the 4th tournament, he took 14th, and that was at the Rocket Mortgage. So this course could be very difficult to try to bet something like this because, as we saw with Michael Thompson, who he missed the cut in 7 of 11 tournaments, and then he won this tournament. So it's just kind of an easy course to go with. So you kind of have to just roll the dice with the player.
Yeah, and I think like what you said there, it's an easy course, but it's an easy course for everybody. And not everybody can get through to the weekend. So if you find somebody who you think has a higher variance, they're more capable of having just a couple awful rounds. That's who you want to attack with this. Some bigger prices. Yeah, I wouldn't want to be laying juice on any of these guys as well, like the make the cuts, because especially some of these top guys, they might not be. The guys who are set, the guys who have major wins, like DJ Reed. These guys have major wins. Well, what do they care about the 3M Open when they're gearing up for the FedEx playoffs? There might be just a complete lack of motivation, and most books will grade it as a missed cut if you withdraw. So if you have another, I'm not saying it would be DJ again, but you lay heavy chalk on one of those guys, he misses, he just decides he's done with this, garbage muni here in Blaine. He says, "Well, I'm heading home. I'm gonna get ready for whatever's next week, or maybe St. Jude." And you lose that -250, miss the cut or make the cut. So no bueno on that. I did something similar. Tony Finau, he is a guy near the top of the board where he's like -500 to make the cut. Really, out of all the miss the cut people, he was just one of the lowest ranked guys for me. I don't have a ton to say that you haven't already said about him when you talked about him in the was it a matchup you faded him in?
Yes.
Yes.
It was fading Tony Finau. It's Dustin Johnson over Finau.
Yeah, DJ over Finau. Yeah, like I said earlier, I was betting against Johnson in my matchup, but I also liked yours because I do have Finau's average finish position in like the 40s, almost 50, which is deep enough for me where getting a plus 330 on this is fine. So it's a bit of a longer shot, but I'm going to play this at this number just because I don't like Tony much, and I don't think he plays well here. And it just his numbers aren't jiving out for somebody who should be making the cut at -500. Yeah, you kind of said it all with him. Nationalities. Oh man, I don't even want to get to this part. I think I won mine last week. I took like a small ass pool of like 4 players.
I can't win
one of them was Darren Clark, who should be in an iron lung at this point. Like he's not healthy, and I did get Shane Lowry last week, top Irishman out of 4. I just basically betting Rory not to play well. So Shane Lowry cash, but a small number. We both ended up on South Africans. This is going to be like Canadians again for us. Dial
And I
on.
think neither of us hit the Canadian last
No.
time. It was some third person who took it. I'm gonna go against. Yes, I am taking South African. I'm gonna go with Dylan Fratelli at plus 350. And Louis. This group is Louis Oosthuizen, Dylan Fratelli, Charles Schwartzel, Eric Van Rooyen, Brendan Stone, and MJ Dafu. I have no idea
Yeah, I don't know how to
about
say that
how to
guy's
say that
name.
name. But this is a fade against Louis Oosthuizen because yes, he's done really well this season, but he's traveling. I don't know where his mindset's going to be. Maybe he's going to with WD, and I think the next best person who is coming into this with as good of a form as you can ask for is going to be Fratelli.
I went very similar thoughts. I almost bet Dylan Fratelli. He did play really well. He was surprisingly good. And Harding too. There was some really good South African representation last week at the Open. I took Van
Hmm.
Rooyen, more of a numbers thing again. It was, like Louis is plus 100 in this market. Like you listed off all the
Right.
players that in this market. Louis is plus 100. That's 50% of the market. He's taking up a massive chunk because he's clearly the best South African. He's been great this year.
Hmm.
But yeah, motivation issues possibly here. And Van Rooyen, it's not really so much a bet on him. It's a bet against the field and getting
Right.
7-1. I'm getting 7-1 on a guy. He actually played up here. He's a Minnesota Gopher. He played college here, so he's familiar with the area. I think people tried to use that angle last year, and he didn't play all that well up at the 3M. I've double checked that, so that doesn't always work. Angus Flanagan plays as a Gopher too. It's not like he's going to win this tournament, but this is a bit of a long shot for me. I like taking it 7-1 on South Africans here, so I guess it'll be who was the last guy that you weren't sure how to say his name?
Defu,
Defoe. Yep.
MJ
Maybe
Defu.
maybe bet Defoe because that's what happened with our Canadians. It was David Hearn who was like 12 or 15-1. He was top Canadian that week. We had it
Yep.
surrounded, couldn't quite get there. Our ace streak came to an end too.
I know.
That huge friggin' dude. He was like
You
six
shouldn't
eight.
be able to see the hole from your shot, like the actual hole itself in the ground, but he was that tall of a man that he just popped it right in. The tallest human
Yeah,
on the tour.
there was only one shot that was really even close other than that, but all it takes is one to lose the
Mhm.
bet. So we lost on that. I'm going with yes this week. Did you
Yes.
take, it's minus 120. It's minus 120 on both sides. The par threes here, marginal, middle of the road, but again, these greens can be receptive. These are going to be easy greens to
Hmm.
hit. You've seen what I've been playing here, people. These greens are big, they're easy to land on. I think I'm like 100% greens in regulation right now. None of these par threes are in the bottom five hardest holes. So the 3 million Open, the 3M Open is going to be good for a hole in one. So minus 120 on that, and get back on track on that. I'm ready to get back on track because it hurts when that giant dude and Twitter blows up too, and right away. You don't miss these things like everybody posts it. So
Yeah.
I
And then you
can't.
get all the DMs and messages.
Like thanks for that. And I actually had a plus number last week too. I like that. So minus 120 on yes. As I tee off on over this beautiful little man-made lake on 17. I think this is where I'm going to camp out this weekend on Sunday. Hopefully, some good golfers make it through to Sunday. If DJ's there, maybe I'll hang out with Paulina in the gallery a little, rub elbows with the rich and famous here, and if she comes with, maybe she won't go to Minneapolis, but I will be here Sunday, and we will be looking for more Hank, just deep in the Hank on the wild cards.
Yes, I'm gonna go. Well, I've recently discovered these top 40 bets, and I didn't hit one last week when I took Ricky Fowler for a top 40, but he took like 50th, so it was almost there. And but Hank Libiota, I really do like him to finish here like in the top 20, in the top 10, and it's a very fair price I think for a top 40 at minus 125. So why not? Give me all the Libiota on the card this week.
Yeah, and again, a guy I bet outright. His only knock was a little off the tee, but if he stays accurate, like he's going to be in contention. This might be a snoozer when he's in one of the last few groups on Sunday. Hopefully,
Hmm.
I am gonna do a trip down to Iowa eventually to get these some of these top 40 bets at the legal books and Last week, oh man, before I tee off here, I got shut out. I drove to Iowa where I normally bet, and it's like, we don't think you're in Iowa.
Hmm.
And it's so I drove even further. I went like one town over, which is like 4 more miles in Iowa. I went to a Casey's. If anybody from the
Wow.
Midwest, it's a gas station. Hooked up to their Wi-Fi from outside to make sure it's like, all right, I'm using a Iowa ISP here, and they still wouldn't believe me. So I didn't get any of my top 30 and 40 bets I wanted on the guys I bet top 20, and I would have lost money on those. So joke's on you, GPS. But this week I will be heading down there because I definitely want to get some Hank and a few other guys on the top 40 markets. I took Maverick. Oh, this is more of a wild card. Maverick McNeely. Um,
Oh,
gosh, top 20 after round one. This was definitely at one of the legal books. I
okay.
believe this was FanDuel. It's like finished position after round one. This guy's irons are a little rough. Ooh, am I going across this lake here? This is a nervy shot. Maybe I'm going to go hang up by this lake on 18. This is a cool shot. Irons are a little bit rough, which will matter here with, like I said, this lake, all the water. Like if you're a little squirrely off some of these tee shots, some of these par threes, you're gonna have some issues with this water. But he did finish top 30 his last 4 times out, and he's another guy that's okay once he gets over to the bentgrass season. He can play well. I think he can do okay here. So top 20 after round one, plus 330. He was a guy that's just
Interesting.
he's been across my radar. I got to outrights. I'm like, I can't bet him outright. And then I got to top 20s. I'm like, man, I'm not sure if I should bet him here either. So I stayed away from. Oh,
Mm.
look, and I won a new cowboy hat for a new item unlocked. Maybe I'll have a black cowboy hat next week. Good round for me. I think a new course record. Course record was 62, but like Pam alluded to when she talked about the preview, they've only been playing on this course lengthened for a couple years, so there's not a lot of rounds on here.
Mm.
I think Bryson and a couple other people have shot a 62 here. It wouldn't surprise me if we saw another one this weekend. So quick recap. Look at that beautiful picture of. I think that's the course. It's been altered and photoshopped to look neat, but outrights were Reed and Grillo. I'm going to really enunciate that now. Lebioda, top 10 for your long shot at plus 450. I took Chez Reavie, top 20 at plus 280. You had DJ over Finau. I
Hmm.
had Reed over DJ at a plus number. Lebioda, plus one. So he's getting, and if you're unfamiliar with any of this, getting 1.5 strokes. So if they tie, if he finishes a stroke back, he's still a winner. So it's like betting the underdog run line in baseball. Same damn thing. Lebioda, except you can end in a tie in golf, and if they're not winners. So Lebioda, Griot plus 1.5. I took Rogers over Poston. We took Keegan and Tony Finau to miss the cut at plus 225 and plus 330. Both ended up on South Africans. They're Vuvuzelas. Plus 350 for Fratelli, 700 for Van Ruyen. Both went on the yes for the hole in one, so I will be able to actually cheer when Twitter blows up, when like MJ Duffy hits a hole in one, undoubtedly. At least it wasn't that Craig T. Nelson or whatever guy last week. That would really piss me off. And then Lebioda plus minus 125 top 40, and I took McNeely top 20 after round one plus 330, and that is the 3M Open. I'm
I
excited to
really like our card
go.
this week.
I actually really do too. I'm happy that you like Lebioda because somebody gave me a hard time about him with a couple steps, but I really like. I just dug back in when somebody throws something back in your at you handicapping wise. You just dig back in and go check it out, and I still like him. I have him 50 to
Hmm.
1, I think, to win the tournament. So I will be greatly appreciative of him getting me another outright this week. That would
Yep.
be awesome. We also be cheering for Mr. Reed and Mr. Emiliano. And good luck. Yeah, good luck with all your bets.
Good luck with your bets.
See you guys.